Running an online belly dance business in a tiny home. Is it possible? No. Okay, let me explain. Of course it's possible, but it comes with a lot of obstacles and challenges. So here's my story. Why did I want to have a tiny home in the first place? When it was just a fantasy, it was all about improving my footprint on the planet, my personal self-care lifestyle. We're talking about things like minimalism in how many belongings you have, being able to work on things like solar energy, like not flushing your sewage into the ocean. Things like this, it's just very important to me. It always has been from the way that I grew up, but also, especially right now, when we have the pandemic really asking us all to examine our personal choices relative to the earth. I mean, my goodness, as we withdraw some of our impact upon her during this time of social distancing and lockdowns and quarantine, we notice that she can breathe some. And it's just really poignant to notice that. You really want to be able, through this intense challenge that we're going through as a global society, at least be able to come through this with some new practices, some new ideas, some new ideal ways of living that can continue to take care of the earth. So I'm really passionate about this. So when this pandemic really got going, I felt like it was a call to action, spiritually, also economically. So a really big part about going tiny is to deal with the fact that, well, as an artist, we sometimes only have a tiny budget to work with to create our very expressive lifestyles. So for me, I have a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom house in Naples, Florida. It's a rental. Naples, Florida is expensive. Florida is less expensive than California, where I'm from, or Hawaii, where I lived for some time, but it's still expensive, especially in Naples. So when we and my boyfriend lost our local income because of having to close, local in-person services, we thought now might be a really good time to play out that tiny home fantasy, because I was going to be able to reduce my expenses down so far comparatively. So how do we decide to play this dream, this fantasy out? So we had this really intense moment where my boyfriend was about to go to work on a Monday to teach kids camps, which he does in his martial arts studio. And on Sunday, we were both like, I'm not sure if you should go in because things might get weird. And it hadn't gotten super weird just yet. And so we decided to go in on Monday, being, the good workers we are. He went in on Monday, and it caused me to kick him out of the house on Tuesday. Oh my God. Of course I did not want to kick my boyfriend out of the house. It's his house too, but what happened was I have someone to protect. We have someone to protect, and that's my mom. A lot of you know Mama J. She is in the age category where you would be considered more vulnerable to COVID-19. So we had to make the decision that he would not come home, which was really intense. So as soon as we had that real break already in our family unit, we started trying to figure out what to do. And he was so awesome and so supportive, because he was like, well, let's put your oxygen mask on first and figure everything out from there. And I was freaking out because I'm like, I think I can't even live in Naples, because where am I going to put this tiny home? I mean, this was really upsetting, because my boyfriend and I are great. We love each other. We have no problems in our relationship except for suddenly being separated like this. So, and many people are going through much more formidable challenges. So with all due respect to all of that, this is just my personal dramatic story. But it's mine, so of course I feel dramatic about it. So yes, he was suddenly out of the house, and we were trying to figure out what to do. So here's where we cut to all the heroes along the way in this story. You never know, the slightest kindness that you express to another person, how much it really can impact the bottom line of their lives and survival. So we have a lot of key players in the way this story has been going. First of all, my boyfriend was able to go to his parents' house because they have recently moved to Naples. So I'm very grateful for that. And they have a large enough space that he was able to be quarantined from them as well. So it was really ideal for him. So he got food and shelter and survival going on. And we decided that he and I both want to live in a place that is less expensive and that we can really fulfill these tiny home dreams, which are initially my mom's dreams. So she was all about this. She really wanted to create this. She wanted to helm it. She's been an incredible artistic visionary where this tiny home is concerned forever, and definitely on this particular creative project. So the next hero is one of my online students. This is a really beautiful like online love story kind of, because I've known Bianca Namaste, one of my students, for years via online. We met online. We didn't know each other until she took one of my online classes. Then she got every single one of my certifications. Then she came to Naples for a tropical retreat. And we've just known each other throughout the years, just online, as she's been doing all of her belly Skype coaching. So she knows what's going on with me because, you know, I'm like having to juggle appointments and letting her know why. And she says, oh, come here, come to Titusville, Florida, which is north in Florida. And I happen to know somebody. So here comes the next hero in the story. Her name is Jessica. And she has a property that's amazing. It has a hookup, an RV hookup for a tiny home. She is planning to put a number of units on the property that are going to be tiny type style, little tiny cabins. There's a pool, and she's dedicated a large chunk of her home space to be a dance studio. So here's where we were like, what? This is incredible. This is going to be a monumental opportunity. And it was. So we found the perfect trailer. A tiny home trailer is what we decided to do. And you'll see in episode 1, the very first thing I decided to do was I was very much in like HGTV mentality. I'm like, we're going to rip this out. We're going to put this new thing here. We're going to install this. We're going to create this, you know, because I'm still in the normal house mentality. Okay, so we get that vision going, and then we start drawing in our items. And it was so hilarious and so fun and enchanting and cute and inspiring how every time we drew in a little item, we were like, don't take this piece of cabinetry out. Oh, that just became cute over here. Oh, this little furniture space actually works quite well. And before you know it, we had a tiny home so fast, just by paring down our belongings, reconfiguring, and putting them into this new sacred space with creativity. We didn't need to do too much reconfiguring after all. Of course, there were things that were needed. So here comes some more heroes. We have all of the people that worked on the trailer. The dude that drove up with us to actually get it put in place. The people who worked on the actual unit, because we did have some serious challenges when we first got into place. Okay, challenge number 1, it rained, it poured, and it leaked like crazy in the trailer. No problem. We just had to have the whole roof sealed. But prior to having the whole roof sealed, we had massive flooding inside. Well, not flooding, but massive leaking inside. So everything had to be taken out and put back in. Now, I want you to know that on a normal day, like non-COVID times, it would have been a lot easier to deal with all of these challenges. But we were moving during like the travel order coming out, the advisories that saying, you know, stay home, don't go anywhere, don't do anything. So there was one moment where we were like, I think we aren't going to be able to move the thing unless we go like tomorrow morning, which was like 4 days earlier than our actual desired date to go. And I even thought we weren't going to make that 4-day mark. So there was all this hysteria to try to get out of here. I left the house, the main house, a mess. I was like, I'll go back later and get more if I can. It was crazy. It was like an escape, really. And we escaped just in time. And then we find out later that you can actually go back and forth. But this was really dramatic and traumatic, an exit. But we did get up there, and then, you know, we have this leaking, which is intense. And so when that happens, I had to do like 36,000 loads of laundry. So I'm relying on the main house for the laundry more than I wanted to, and because this is all about being independent, you know. And also we had to have service people to work on the plumbing line, the plumbing backed up, while I'm trying to like make flyers and deadlines. I've just opened that online resources Facebook group. I've got all kinds of things going on in my online business, of course, because it's time for that. It's an era of online business attention. And so my attention needs to be on it. And I'm like trying to post with very little internet service while, you know, stepping over plumbing issues and trying to keep social distancing going with all the workers. So that was extremely stressful and challenging, and we did it, but it was like kind of a nightmare of, you know, trying to spray everything down, cleaning constantly before and after and during everything that was occurring, wearing the masks, wearing the gloves, doing all of this. It was really hard. So what started to happen is, now the goal is for me to be able to teach online in the trailer. But what started to happen is, like, I was having a really hard time getting any work done. And because it's a time of financial challenge and stress for everyone, it's not the time to not be able to be working in any way that you can be if you have the opportunity to do so. So this is where we get to the point where it's time to consider this studio space that's part of the main house. And I really wanted to get everything inside the trailer, like in my heart of hearts, and everybody knew this, that we wanted to be independent. We were even gonna flip the trailer around. Initially it was facing the house. We were gonna flip it around and fence off a little area and be able to work in there and do all of that. And then just for like retreats and special events, we were gonna participate in the main house and like maybe occasionally do laundry in there. But suddenly it was just like constantly going into the main house, which is not the independent thing we were trying for. But thank goodness we had that at that time. So everyone in this story was trying to do their best to match protocols as we're going along, but it was really starting to get difficult. And for Jessica, the main house lady, she has kids, and the father lives elsewhere, and she also has other tenants in the house. So it became really difficult to track and really difficult to contend with. Additionally, Titusville, in that particular location, we were having a lot of trouble getting the internet in. It was complicated. We just couldn't get the internet to work. So here comes Bianca with save number 2, another heroic moment. She decides to turn her patio in the back into a full-fledged studio. Now, she was planning to do this anyway, so I was like, okay, if you're doing it anyway. And we really had a lot of fun working on her studio and creating that sacred space and starting up, both teaching in that space. So we were almost situated. But when I tell you it's a tornado that blew all our dreams away, you'll understand why this was all so dramatic. Now, let me be clear, the trailer's still intact. Nobody got blown away physically by a tornado, but there was a tornado warning in Titusville that really was the breaking point for this particular phase of this dream. Bianca's place is only 10 minutes from Jessica's place, so in 10 minutes, I found myself separated from my mom and my cats, just like I was supposed to be on my work day, going to Bianca's, and everyone's phones go off. It's tornado warning time, and it's take cover level tornado warning time. So this was very scary. I ran for the door, of course. Like, I knew I was not actually going to be able to drive and go back to the location A, but I was having a hard time not physically doing that because my mom and my cats were at the trailer with a tornado headed their way, supposedly, possibly. And everyone was like, no, don't go for the door. And I was like, I have to. And so mom is texting me and calling me, and she was like, stay where you are. And then she said, I see it. So I got very, like, you know, when your legs just go weak, I just sank to the floor. I wasn't crying, but tears were streaming down my face, so I was crying. And I was just hanging on while I felt as though there was nothing that I could do. I hate that feeling of being out of control. Meanwhile, my mom, because she's epic, she's awesome, she gets our 2 cats, which is impossible ever, even on a good, snuggly, fine day. It's difficult to get these kids where we want them to be at any given time. She gets both those cats from outside, gets them to the inside of the house, and takes cover in a room inside a room inside a room inside the house, and locks everything down and gets with them. I didn't know that they were in there for a long time. Somewhere in the middle of I think it was like 40 minutes, 45 minutes, somewhere in there, I found out that she was, by text, that she was in there and that she got the cats. I was blown away. I was not blown away, thank God, and she was not blown away. What she saw was the big, giant, black wall cloud. And Jessica, who was also running around trying to gather things and get properly sheltered in the place as well, in the house, she started to hear the sound, you know, like the train starting, the train on the railroad track, she started to hear that sound begin, and so they were quite nervous. Also, the air had gone completely still, and everything turned a weird hue, a weird color. So they were really in a different atmosphere, obviously, because, you know, it was a tornado warning. So everything turns out great in that the tornado didn't hit anyone. Some funnel clouds dropped, apparently. I believe there was limited damage, no fatalities, no injuries, things like that. So we got lucky. But the punchline here is, as my mom exits the main house to go back into the trailer, she yells out to Jessica, "Thanks for having a house." So that brings us to the moral of the story. We are back in our concrete house in Naples to reassess the situation. Now, there are experts out there that say that there are tie downs that you can get for your trailers and tiny homes for hurricanes, for tornadoes? I don't know, but I haven't done enough research on it to be completely comfortable yet. I know that all my life, since living in Florida, we've knocked on the walls and said, oh good, it's concrete. And now we're, you know, working with these paper thin feeling walls in the trailer thinking, I'm not sure, how is that going to really hold up in those winds? I do believe it's possible because people have said so. I just haven't personally done the research. So we are on pause and we are back in Naples, so that we can have the safety of the concrete house and so that we can also get me back to work, because at a certain point I was no longer able to have control over one space where I was sure that I could keep up social distancing protocols and really get my work done, which I need to be doing at a crazy level right now. So that's the story. Want to see the tiny home? So as you can see, it's beautiful. As I go back through the footage, it's killing me. I love the thing so much. And the property where we were at was so beautiful with those trees were incredible with the Spanish moss. And we have so many cool memories of animals we're not used to because we're in a different part of Florida, like whooping cranes and noises we heard. And it's just, there's so many little tiny adventures in this incredible adventure. When we went back up to go get Mom, because, oh, that's the other thing. The story begins with me kicking out my boyfriend. Towards the end of this story, I actually left my mom in Titusville. I am not about these items. They just are what happened. But this was all trying to save my family. These are crazy brave steps I had to make along the way in order to actually get to the goal point, which I'm not at yet. But I'm gaining on it. So we went back up and got Mom. Alex, my boyfriend, and I were able to go together. The cats I had already brought back, so they were safe and fine. They've made it through this well. And when we went back up to get Mom, I didn't have much stress because it was just all about kind of collecting her and coming back. So I got to have a party. You know that in episode 1, I was talking about getting a king-size bed in the back, and then it turned out to be a queen. Well, it turns out it's really fun to be forced to snuggle that close with your man. So we enjoyed that, had a lot of giggles over it, and that's all you can have over it, because if you breathe or cough or turn or do anything, the entire trailer rocks. And there's only a tiny little paper door between the back and the front part. So it's just for giggling, that's all, nothing more. Tee-hee. So now we're back at the big normal house in Naples, Florida, and I'm just setting my mind on my work and my creativity. I have not let go of the trailer. We have not let go of the trailer. We haven't sold it. We haven't ditched it. It's in storage. We saved that little beauty, and we plan to regroup, rethink, and we're never done with any of our dreams or fantasies. They just, some go on pause, some are shelved for a little bit of time, but in the heart, I'm all about, what does this time teach us? Who are we gonna become? So I'm going to continue to think about that and come back to this amazing, crazy, wild project. I don't regret this phase at all. It was stressful, phenomenal, and I can't wait to get back to it when I can soon.